Hello well-wishers and welcome to my channel Aspiring Minds. In today's video, we are going to discuss in detail the poem Daddy written by Sylvia Plath. So grab your virtual seats and let's begin this poetic journey. Sylvia Plath was an American poet, novelist and a short story writer. Now she's famous for writing confessional form of works. Now confessional form of works are those, it comes from the very word to confess. So it is deeply emotional. It goes into stating personal experiences and emotions. Sylvia Plath's life was marked by struggles with mental health issues, and her poetry often brings out the themes of identity, sadness, and the complexity of human relationships. Daddy is one of her most popular poems, and it highlights the intense expression of her emotions. Daddy is a poem that was written in the year 1962, and this is shortly before Sylvia Plath's death by suicide in the year 1963. The poem is quite autobiographical, I could say, and it reflects Plath's complex relationship with her father, Otto Plath. Now, Otto Plath died when Sylvia was only 8 years old, and this event had a deep impact on her life and work. The poem is going to also deal with Plath's feelings about her failed marriage to the fellow poet Ted Hughes and her struggle with mental illness. Now, the central message of Daddy revolves around the poet's complex emotions towards her dead father and her failed relationships in life. Plath uses imagery which is often shocking to explore the themes of trauma, oppression, and the impact of paternal or fatherly influence on her life. So we can think that this poem is almost like a cathartic expression. It is going to be her moment of release, because remember I told you Plath used to write confessional poetry. So it is through this poem that she is going to express her anger, pain, and she is ultimately trying to free herself from the negative forces that would keep haunting her. You do not do anymore, black shoe in which I have lived like a foot for 30 years, poor and white, barely daring to breathe or achoo. Daddy, I have had to kill you. You died before I had time. Marble heavy, a bag full of God, ghastly statue with one grey toe, big as a Frisco seal. So here we see that the speaker addresses her father, accusing him of neglect and abandonment. The metaphor or the example of the black shoe over here symbolizes how the father was like an oppressive force. He would dominate over the daughter, comparing it to almost a suffocating foot. When you wear shoes which do not fit you well, you start feeling suffocated. So the speaker over here hints at a sense of relief, stating that she no longer lives in that suffocating shoe. The speaker in stanza 2 declares that she had to kill her father, not literally mind you, but on a symbolic and emotional level, because the father was never available to her in any way. The father is described as a burdensome figure in the girl's life. He was a godlike figure who is now dead and heavy like marble, because literally when you die, you are buried and there is like a marble like formation. The tomb is made of marble. So that's how she's referring to how the father has died now. And the reference to the Frisco seal suggests a monstrous quality which she would associate with her father. And ahead in the freakish Atlantic, where it pours bean green over blue in the waters of beautiful Nauset, I used to pray to recover you. Ach du, in the German tongue, in the Polish town, scrapped flat by the roller of wars. But the name of the town is common, my Polak friend. So over here we see in stanza 3, the setting is shifting to the Atlantic, and the speaker mentions praying to recover her father. The use of the German interjection ach du adds a sense of irritation and anguish, because remember, German is a very strong language. It's got a sense of firmness. So the speaker acknowledges her father's German heritage and the influence of the war-torn history on her identity. The speaker in stanza 4 reflects on her father's roots in a Polish town, but the town's name is Pommern. The inability to locate the father's footsteps or to communicate with him reflects the emotional distance that existed between Plath and her father. The metaphor of the tongue stuck in the jaw emphasizes her struggle with speech, her lack of being able to communicate properly whatever she wished to with her father. There are a dozen or two, so I never could tell where you put your foot, your root. I never could talk to you. The tongue stuck in my jaw. It stuck in a barbed wire snare. Itch, 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 itch. I could hardly speak. I thought every German was you. And the language, obscene. So here we see again how her tongue is stuck in the jaw. So the speaker, no matter how much she is trying, is unable to communicate with her father. The speaker associating her father with the Germans expresses her fear and the impact of her language and identity. The reference to being like a Jew alludes to the atrocities, the difficulties that were faced during the Holocaust. She suggests a possible Jewish ancestry and acknowledges the impurity of her heritage. Next, the speaker employs a powerful and controversial imagery to convey her sense of oppression. The use of the metaphorical engine shuffling the speaker off suggests a force that was driving her away, as if she's being thrown out. The comparison to a Jew being transported to infamous concentration camps like Dachau, Auschwitz and Belsen during the Holocaust is also deeply symbolic. The line, "I began to talk like a Jew," reflects the deep impact of oppression on the speaker's identity. The persecution and the discrimination that was experienced by the Jewish people during the Holocaust included attempts to strip them of their cultural and linguistic identities. So the speaker over here adopts the speech patterns associated with Jewish individuals, highlighting the influence of external oppression on herself. Next, the stanza where she says, "The snows of the Tyrol, the clear beer of Vienna are not very pure or true." In this stanza, the speaker continues to explore the theme of identity, questioning the purity and truth of her heritage. The reference to the snows of Tyrol and the clear beer of Vienna alludes to the regions which are associated with Central Europe, emphasizing the speaker's connection to a broader cultural context. The speaker over here challenges the notion of purity and authenticity in her heritage, suggesting that her ancestry is not straightforward. The mention of a gypsy ancestress introduces the idea of a Romani or itinerant heritage, adding complexity to the speaker's background. The repetition of "my tarot pack" emphasizes the significance of fortune-telling tools, possibly suggesting a connection to the mystical practices. The uncertainty and ambiguity in the speaker's identity are once again reinforced by the repetition of the phrase "I may be a bit of Jew," indicating that the speaker is still struggling with her heritage and the impact of historical events on her sense of self. Next, the speaker continues to explore her complex and fearful feelings towards her father. The speaker's fear is rooted in the father's association with the oppressive symbols and characteristics. The mention of the Luftwaffe, German Air Force, connects the father to military power, suggesting a threatening and authoritarian presence. The term "gobbledygook," I don't know if I can pronounce it correct, adds a sense of absurdity to the father's language or style of communication. The neat mustache and the bright blue Aryan eye evoke the typical features associated with Nazi leaders like Adolf Hitler. So the repetition of Panzer Man emphasizes the military imagery that she is talking about. and also it is relating to the World War II. So the stanza takes a dark turn as the speaker declares the father to be not God but a swastika. This powerful line suggests that the father's influence is not divine but rather oppressive. He is a symbol of the swastika. Swastika is a potent emblem of Nazi ideology. The speaker then makes a statement about women adoring fascists, highlighting a perverse attraction to power and dominance. So we can see that these stanzas delve into the speaker's deep-seated fear of her father, drawing on the powerful imagery associated with the Nazi Germany. The speaker portrays the father as an oppressive figure, emphasizing the destructive and the terrible impact it has on the people. Now in these two stanzas, the speaker confronts an image of a father who stands at the blackboard. Despite a changed physical appearance, now with a cleft in his chin instead of a foot, the father remains a devilish figure. The metaphorical impact of the father is quite deep, and he is described as the black man who once bit the speaker's innocent heart in two. The speaker reveals that her father's death at her age of 10 and in her 20s, she attempted suicide, longing to reunite with the father. The separation is evident as she even considered bones as a means of connection with her father, highlighting the depth of her emotional disturbance and how she would miss her dead father. Now, in the next two stanzas, the speaker describes a metaphorical resurrection after a suicide attempt. Pulled me out of the sack implies a rebirth, a revival from a dark place. The act of being stuck together with glue signifies an artificial restoration, suggesting a fragmented sense of self. Already when a person has decided to attempt suicide, you can imagine the state of mind of the person. So the speaker seems to have gained clarity about her purpose, deciding to create a symbolic representation of her father as a man in black with a Mekamf look. The description of the man in black with a Mekamf look over here alludes to the infamous book Mein Kampf, written by Adolf Hitler, emphasizing the father's oppressive qualities. The mention of a love of the rack and the screw implies the kind of tortures that were done. Rack was a kind of a torture instrument that was used. The declaration I do suggests a perverse acceptance with the father's oppressive traits, completing the creation of the symbolic modern. So the speaker announces her final separation from her father, emphasizing the termination of communication by stating the black telephone's off at the root, the voices just can't warm through. In the final two stanzas, the speaker emphasizes that by metaphorically killing her father, she has also been able to satisfy the vampire in her. The vampiric figure is portrayed as having drained the speaker's blood for 7 years. The speaker declares that her father, symbolized by a stake in his heart, can now rest. The villagers representing the societal judgment or collective awareness are depicted as dancing and stamping on her father, indicating a collective rejection of negative influence in a person's life. The final lines of the poem convey a strong sense of liberation. She's finally feeling free and she's got her closure, with the speaker addressing her father with a mix of anger and finality, declaring herself to be free from any kind of oppressive presence. She has finally been able to fly like a free bird. So, to understand the poem better, let us look at the themes. Now, the poem explores the impact of the father's oppressive influence on the speaker's life and mind. The father is portrayed as a godlike Nazi figure, symbolizing authority and control. Right? Now, Plath also delves into the question of identity, heritage, and the impact of World War II on individual identity. The speaker is struggling with her German and Polish roots, hinting at a potential Jewish ancestry. There is also emotional trauma and healing, because the poem serves as a vehicle for the poet's cathartic release of emotions, addressing the trauma caused by her father's death and the impact on the speaker's mental health. The final stanza of the poem, we have already seen, suggests that process of healing and liberation for the poet. And we also see the Holocaust imagery, as Sylvia Plath alludes to the atrocities committed during World War II. This adds a layer of historical and cultural significance to the poem as well. So that's it from this video. I hope you liked it. Do hit the like button, subscribe to my channel for more such future updates. Thank you for watching. Bye.